In a different video, we talked about how other people's opinions control your life and that your time, your attention, and your energy goes toward trying to make them happy. In this video, I want to talk about the inverse side of this. So, similar topic, but I want to talk to you about how much of your time and your attention and your energy is spent in avoiding people being unhappy with you. I just do not want to deal with my partner or my boss. I don't want people to be like upset with me. I just want to do my job, do what is expected of me, and then just move on. So in this video, what I'm going to do, I want to point out to you some of the tactics you might be using to avoid people's disapproval, to avoid conflict. And if you're like me, when you kind of start to recognize these things, you realize this is no way to live your life. And so the first one that I want to talk to you about is this dynamic that plays out where you might be thinking you're fundamentally like a good person, or an honest person, I should say, and that you tell people the truth. But reality is that you don't really. You actually hide the truth. When we talk about the truth, we talk about how whether it is maybe a mistake that you made, maybe you did something that you promised you wouldn't do again. Maybe it is you said you were going to do something, didn't do it. Or it's a flaw of some sort, right? Whenever you're confronted with that, you talk your way out of it. You lie about it. And again, on the whole, you're a great person. On the whole, you're an honest person. But when those moments pop up, oh, I spent this money, and she confronts you on it. What do you do? What do you say? If you're lying to her, saying, I don't know what you're talking about. This is you lying, right? This is you not telling the truth. So lying is one tactic that you definitely use when you're trying to avoid people's disapproval, or you're trying to avoid people's negative reactions. Okay, so in the other video where I talked about other people's opinions controlling you, we did talk about you doing things to get people's positive approval of you. But in this tactic that I want to talk about next, I call it stockpiling, where you're essentially trying to stack the deck, or whatever the right metaphor is, and do all of these positive things to outweigh the negative. Well, I did this around the house. I did this for you. I did this. I did that. I did this for the kids. I'm doing all these things. Like, you don't be upset with me, right? You're trying to offset the mistakes that you make. You overcompensate for. I did all these things for you so that you don't get upset with me about these other things that I maybe made a mistake on or didn't do, right? You can call that stockpiling, trying to stockpile behavior, right, to offset, to off-balance the negative stuff that you've done, or the stuff you didn't do, the mistakes you've made, the flaws that you have. The third tactic that I want to talk about is where, instead of taking responsibility for what you're doing or what you've done, you focus your attention and your energy on trying to fix your, let's say, your wife's feelings. So, for example, and all of these maybe to some degree fit into this category, but a lot of times what will happen is that you'll do something, say you promised your wife that you would take her out on a date, and she's upset that you didn't do it. Or you promised your wife you'd clean the garage and you didn't do it. So when she confronts you about it, what do? Instead of taking responsibility, like, yeah, you're right, I actually did promise that I was going to do this thing and I did not do it. Like, that's not okay. That's you taking responsibility. And then you probably getting up and going and doing that thing. Instead of doing that, what you end up doing is you're just, okay, you're going to scramble, going to go buy her flowers, you're going to take her out, you're going to plan a trip, you're going to clean the garage and then some, or whatever it is, or even just clean the garage, kind of dink around with it, get by with just enough. all for the explicit purpose of I just need her to get off my back about it, right? And when that's your intention, right, that's where you're going. We call that fixing, right? We call that fixing. The next tactic is you intellectualize and try and explain away, rationalize, defend what it is that you've done, right? And so this is obviously trying to convince somebody that you weren't as wrong as you were, or that it's not as big of a deal as it is, but you're trying to get somebody off your back, right? You're trying to change their perception by going through and defending and explaining and rationalizing what it is that you have or have not done. The fifth tactic we're going to talk about is shifting the spotlight. So when the spotlight's on you in a negative way, essentially, like you're being held accountable, or there's just negative attention coming at you, she might be frustrated expressing her emotions. You react with, well, you've done this, and you shift the attention shift the spotlight off of maybe what you have or haven't done that she's upset with to, well, you've done this, right? You're shifting it to her. You're shifting it to what she has or hasn't done that is bad or negative or whatever it might be. And then a sixth way that you try to avoid other people's negative opinion of you is that you actually build defenses and walls and a buffer between you, who you really are, what you really think, what you really feel, what you've really done, what you really want to do, all of the authentic, true things about you. And you build kind of this wall around you. You don't let people in. You don't let people know what you really think. You don't let people know what you really feel. You don't let people know what you really want. You really, in a way, stonewall other people. You keep them out. You buffer yourself. And so a lot of times this will come with like addictions and whatnot, where you're just kind of numbing yourself out. And it's almost like you're, instead of being real and true to who you are, you're actually just going to create kind of self-sabotage and get into these addictions to take the attention off of, or the possibility off of, your actual self. Right? You're trying to put attention on, let's say, like an illness or this addiction, this disease that you have, or whatever it might be, just to kind of similar to shifting the spotlight to the other person. It's kind of shifting it onto sort of your helplessness, your powerlessness in a way. But either way, really, the tactic I want to really focus on here is that you're trying to avoid other people really knowing you, and other people really seeing you, so that you can avoid their negative reaction. The point of this video is not to make you feel worse about yourself. The point of this video is to help you to become more aware of yourself. And as you're doing that, and you can just allow the truth to be there for a minute, right? Allow the truth to be there that, yes, I am doing all these things to avoid other people's opinions. That is going to give you a starting point. It's going to give you like the reality of the facts of where you are right now. And it's going to help you to see, well, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? And here's what I would encourage you to do as a first step. It may be right now too high stakes of a game to be honest with your spouse about some things, with your boss or whoever it might be. Might be too high stakes right now. But you need to practice having the experience of being totally real and honest with somebody. So whether that's with a therapist, or it's with a friend, or if you don't have either, I recommend that you get one. But you got somebody that you can go to, that you can just be really real with how you're feeling, what you're struggling with, what you're doing. And they're not going to react. Right? They're just going to listen. They're just going to hear you out. And they're just in your corner wanting what's best for you. And that way you can start to experience what it's like to be real and honest with somebody in a relationship, and to have them just stay there. Like, realize that people are going to actually still want to be in a relationship with you. even when you do things that are maybe against your values, maybe against their values, but you need to have this experience of acceptance from other people, I think, to really foster your own personal self acceptance. We'll catch you in the next video.